Kiki Lewis at 678-813-7102. That's 678-813-7102. You can also email her at drinkandcolor@gmail.com and follow on Instagram at drinkandcolor. And tell her you were referred by the Wait a Minute Show. Drink and Color, cocktail catering. Let the cocktail sparkle at your next event.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back and you're listening to
It's the Wait a Minute Show
here on X Squad Radio Network. So let's just go ahead and get into it. We talked about Dalvin Cook. Was he going to show up? Wasn't he going to show up to camp? Well, Dalvin Cook has showed up to training camp, even though his agent said that he wasn't going to. So something happened there, or maybe they were just trying to call a bluff, and it did not work. And the Vikings was like, "Now we know Dalvin. He'll be here." And sure enough, he showed up. I think this is the right move for Dalvin Cook, barring anything, and I'm knocking on wood, no injuries for this young man, because he has definitely been someone that the Vikings appreciate. He has definitely been a guy that has put in the work. He has definitely been someone that has produced. So you want to see someone to get paid and get what they deserve. So I think him coming to camp is the best way. Not coming to camp would cause problems. The other thing it was going to cause is a year eligibility. If he doesn't show up, he goes back into having to do another year before he becomes a free agent. So I'm sure that had something to do with it. I honestly do think that the Minnesota Vikings are going to take care of Dalvin Cook, and here's why. A lot of times in football, not necessarily, basketball, but definitely in football, owners, presidents, general managers, coaches, they are all presented with, you cannot keep everybody, because everybody wants to get paid. And also, sometimes your talent roster is a little abnormal from everyone else. So that's another reason why you can't pay everyone. So you have to make a decision. And I really think what they did, two reasons why, but what I really think they did, they chose Dalvin over Stefon Diggs. Now, there was some stuff with Stefon, not being happy, I guess, with his role there. That's a receiver. I mean, they're always, unhappy about something. But I do think at the end of the day, as far as like what the Minnesota Vikings wanted to do, I think they felt, we're going to be a running offense. We're going to put it into Dalvin's hand. We can pay Dalvin because the running back position has been devalued financially. We can pay Dalvin, and we can we still got Thielen, and we can go get another wide receiver, because we're going to be running the ball. So they trade Stefon. They got their guy in Kirk Cousins. Thielen already got his deal, so he's done. And you're going to pay Dalvin, and you're going to take your chances on the wide receiver crop that you have brought in. So I'm sure there's some. To me, it's not that is there going to be a deal done. It's more of when the deal will be done, and I think it'll be done before we got season one. I mean, week one. What is that? September 10th. So a little bit over a month that they got to get that, get a deal done or figure out what they're wanting to do, maybe, for next season. Because they can't do anything right now. That portion has passed, but I do think, Dalvin is going to get a deal. Well, he could get an extension. So, yeah, but he's going to get a deal done. He's too valuable to that team, and he fits the identity that Mike Zimmer is trying to bring to the Minnesota Vikings. He doesn't want Kirk Cousins back there throwing the ball, being, Randy Moss and Chris Carter like they, had with, and I'm not saying Kirk Cousins is Randall Cunningham. I'm just saying how often they threw the ball. It's not what Mike Zimmer wants to do. He wants to control the clock, wants to control the game, wants to tire down the defense, and then utilize his offensive weapons on the outside. And it takes the ball out of Kirk Cousins' hand more often than not. And you don't put it on Kirk's back. You do it as a team. So Dalvin is going to get his deal done. I just firmly believe that. Now, I was telling you earlier about football and, this whole COVID thing, and there's a team that really the NFL should be watching. They're watching everyone. NBA, so far right now, everybody in the bubble, they've been through 2 weeks, and no one has had, a positive test for COVID-19, which is great. I was just talking about Lance Johnson. He just acquired COVID-19, among others that, before him. And then we were just talking about how players are opting out. Here's the reason why. The Florida Marlins. Unfortunately, you have 18 people on that roster. Now, 16 of them are players and 2 of them are coaches. Currently being diagnosed with COVID-19. This is the bad situation that everyone, was worried about. Would be what happens? What happens if something happens on one team and then you go out there and you play with another, playing against another team? And baseball is not a full contact sport. So that's what makes it even scarier, is that somehow, some way they got this. I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know when or whatever, but they got it. And it could have potentially been passed off to someone else that they were playing against. And this is something that the NFL has to look at. This is something Major League Baseball have to look at. Now, they have redid their schedule, which I don't know if that is the best thing. I don't know how I'm not saying they didn't even downplay it, but I don't know how you address that. And I'm sure they're trying to do something, for it, but it could happen again. It could happen again. $18 people on one team. And we're talking about a 53-man roster for the NFL. Just let that sink in for a second. Not to mention coaches. Not to mention, doctors, trainers, ball boys, ball girls. I mean, this is going to be a difficult thing. And the Marlins, I don't know what to say. One thing I do know what to say about is that I was wrong. And I don't have a problem saying I was wrong about something when I'm wrong about something. Which is rare, right, Lopan?
Indeed.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think that, man. No one says, I'm wrong all the time. But this one I was wrong. And I was talking, what I was wrong about was the was the Houston Astros being lucky. And I said they were lucky because there's no fans in the stand. They're not going to have to endure, the boo. They're not going to have to endure, all the, interviews and, and everything. I forgot one thing that was kind of important. And Lopan was looking at me like, yeah, you forgot. Indeed. Shut up, Lopan. They still had to play the game against the people that they very well snuck a championship from. And it came to fruition, ladies and gentlemen. Houston Astros was playing the Los Angeles Dodgers, and pitcher Joe Kelly said it's time for some get back. Time for some get back. He has recently been suspended for 8 games because they said he was targeting 3 of the Houston Astros players, and that they had something to, have dealings with the whole cheating scandal with the Houston Astros. And I said, wow, I completely forgot about that. Because baseball, the one thing about baseball is that they really frown upon cheating, I'm still upset about them still keeping Pete Hall out of the Hall because, Pete Rose. I said Pete Hall. Pete Rose from out of the Hall, but you only take draft picks from an organization that cheated their way into winning a championship. But I digress. I forgot you actually have to see your peers. And so Joe Kelly, for the LA Dodgers, was sending that heat to those particular Houston Astros players. Now, the only thing I really don't agree with is that cheat, all that stuff, it's not worth, someone being injured. So you got to be careful when you're doing this throwing, because some of those pitches were high. Some of those pitches, the player had to duck. Now you could say that Joe Kelly was in control. He said his mechanics had got away from him, so he's going to blame it on that. But that just made me think like this is just the beginning. And the Dodgers, I get it because they played the Dodgers in the World Series. So obviously the Dodgers are like, hey, they got our championship. And nobody did anything about it. So we're going to do something about it. But that is going to probably be the Houston Astros. It's not going to stop there. I think you'll still have some players here and there can't be consistent because obviously the league will be watching that, and then they'll start enforcing really strict penalties. But I do think there's going to be some pain that's going to have to be dished out. Since the MLB didn't want to handle it a certain way, I think the players are looking at it as we're going to have to handle it ourselves. And we're going to have to go ahead and make sure the Houston Astros remember this year and make sure their presence is felt. But it started with Joe Kelly. He got him 8 games. I'm sure he's not sweating the 8 games. And I get it. You work that hard, and winning a championship is not something, hey, if you invest your money or, and you save it, guess what? You keep your money. No, this is something that players work very hard for, and it's not guaranteed, or it's not a high chance or a high reality that they're going to win these championships. So when they have an opportunity to do it, and something like this is taken away from them, this is how they're going to react, especially, again, without taking draft picks? Really? Really? You're going to take draft picks